What's going on, everybody? It's your man Cleveland Terry, and today we are finally going to review the JMAZ Versaflex Lite. What do I think about it? How does it compare to some of the competition? And is it a worthy purchase? Let's talk about it. All right, once again, thank you guys for hanging out. If you are new here, this is what we do. We talk about all things DJ related, DJ reviews, DJ gig logs, DJ tips and tricks, and DJ business. If that's something that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, because that's how you know when I post my next video. Also, always check in on Thursday mornings for Wake Up in Cleveland, where we do a live format version of kind of what we're doing here. Okay, enough about that. Let's talk about this guy right here. Now, I've had this guy for a while, but I just started traveling and I wasn't able to really kind of dig deep and actually shoot this video. So we're going to do this quickly. I don't think it needs to be something that needs to go for 20 minutes. I'm going to try to keep this around 10 minutes just to kind of go into the details of what I've experienced so far. I will tell you right off the bat that this is not like buying your standard kind of Chauvet gig bar. Okay, you can't necessarily walk into Guitar Center and pick this off the shelf. It doesn't exist that way. Because of the ability to customize the bar and to customize the lighting, which we'll talk about in a second, you're kind of at the mercy of the manufacturers. And we ordered this guy, obviously, kind of in the heat of COVID and the pandemic. So we knew things were going to take a little while anyway. But needless to say, this bar took a long time to get to us. As a matter of fact, we got the bar, and like a week later, we got the Trons because these were add-ons. Basically, what comes with the bar itself is just this top right here and your moving heads here. These guys are optional. They come with either the Trons, they come with some color washes, two different types of color washes also. Now, I'm going to say something right off the bat. Let's just get it out of the way. This light right here is, at the current time, the best lighting T-bar system that you can get. I know that Chauvet has the gig bar, and now they have their gig bar ILS. I still don't think, to this point, that it is brighter than this bar right here, nor does it do as much as this bar. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that it's perfect. There are some things on here that I wish were different, but we'll talk about them and you can figure out if it works for you or not. So the price of the T-bar alone, the T-bar and the moving heads, is $8.99. You add on the Trons here. The Trons run about $329 to $350 depending on where you buy them from. So do the math. What are we talking about here? $900. So we're talking about $1,250 for this package right here. For some people, they're going to say it's too expensive. You know, I can get the gig bar for less. You can get a gig bar for less. You can get the gig bar move for less, but you are going to lose out on several things. For instance, the power of the moving heads and the power of the color washes and the power of the bar. It's just a more powerful bar. If you were going to compare this to anything, it would be the gig bar move 2 ILS, where they have slightly stronger moving heads and they have a slightly stronger LED source. But I still think that the washes are going to be better on this guy no matter what. So if you're looking at it price-wise and you're just trying to compare the two, this is just a better spec'd out fixture. Now, there are some things on the gig bars that make it very, very appealing. And one of those is the gig bar light programming. The light programming on the gig bar is very, very good. The light programming on the Versaflex is solid. It's solid. It does the job. But as far as cycling through all of their many programs, the Versaflex does not have as many programs. So for people that want to kind of have a plug and play, well, this might be something that kind of bothers you a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what you get in the box. So you get the Versaflex bar, these are optional, and you get a remote. So you have a wireless remote, and you also have obviously DMX in the back, and we'll talk about DMX in a minute, but let's talk about just the wireless remote real quick, because this is a very convenient remote. It does most of the things you want it to do, but, and this could be just me and not maybe being as educated on the remote as some other people, but I will kind of explain my frustrations from what I've experienced. If you look here, I'm going to put it right here. If you look here, here is your remote. And as you can see, you have all of these ID buttons up top here. Now, these ID buttons, ID 1 through ID 8, is basically a fixture assignment for the remote. So if you have a fixture and you might set it to ID 1, you might set another fixture to ID 2, and so on and so forth, up to 8 fixtures, 8 Versaflexes or whatever. You have the option of controlling all of these on the remote. Problem is, most people are not going to do that. So you have this remote with all these buttons, which I think could have been better spent on other things that you might actually want to use. I think no more than 4 fixture programming on a remote. After that, I don't think you're using the remote. I don't think you're using the remote after 2. I think after that, you're probably going DMX or some sort of wireless in reality. But it comes with that. I think it's kind of taking up a little bit of unnecessary space, neither here nor there. Now, in order to run this thing, you have to hold down on the button first, which is can be a little confusing for people. You have to hold down the ID that is assigned to the fixture. So I've assigned it to ID 1. You have to hold down the ID 1 for like 4 seconds, and then it will finally register. Up until then, you're just pressing buttons and you're wondering why nothing works. Well, that's why. So on this remote, you have a couple of different options here. Of course, I said you have your IDs, then you have your kind of, stop and play action, your undo and redo if you press a button and you want to go back because maybe you pressed it and you didn't want to do it. You have your dimmer, which basically brightens the whole thing up. You have your strobe, and then you have your cycle through buttons, basically cycling through the programs. And then on your dimmer, this can also be a cycle through or a drop on the luminance on the fixture itself. Then here you have your kind of fast buttons. They're still the same thing. These are all kind of the program buttons of whatever you're using. So that could mean that if you're in the auto program mode, these are going to run each program, and there are 12 programs on the device. Now, here's the thing that gets it a little weird, because you have the programs here. Then you have this red, green, blue, warm, RGB, and cool, which basically represent the bar, the T-bar itself, this LED bar right here. It only works for this bar. Then you have your other options, your head unit, and your head is your moving heads. Your unit 1 or unit 2 could be either the ones that are here or the ones that are above. So you can do 4 washes total on this bar. So that's why you have unit 1 and unit 2. Basically, there's 2 per unit here. Okay, then you have your DMX mode, your wireless DMX, your auto mode, which is your auto programs, and your sound mode. Okay, got through all the things here. Let's bring the light on so you can kind of see what's going on here. Now, we're going to run it on auto real quick just so you can kind of see what the auto looks like. All right, so this is auto 1. Now, they start with red because that's kind of what everybody else does on all of their fixtures. Red, green, blue are the top 3 lights here. Let's go to 4, which is like a pastel yellow, purple, pink. I don't know what you'd call that color. Then you have a kind of universal thing here. And once we get to 7 to 12, they're all kind of universal lights. This is an auto mode. If I change it to sound, obviously it's going to stop. So if I hit it, there you go. Now, as I said before, with the gig bars, the programming is just better. It changes so many times. Hit the stop button, turns off the lighting. This is where it gets a little more, you can get a little more granular with it, because right now, one of the things that for whatever reason it does is, as you're moving through the light sources, let's say I'm on auto and I want to change to the moving heads to control those. So if I press head and then I start pressing the program buttons, now I'm blind, I can't see them, you can see that we're operating on the green. So you can get singular. You can control each thing. If I go to unit, I believe it's unit 2 for me, go to 12, and now we're changing just the color washes right here. Here's the thing. The bar here kind of has a mind of its own, all right? So I cannot turn off the bar using the remote without turning off all the lights and then individually turning them on. Now, again, this could be me. Maybe I'm just missing something as far as a save point. I don't know, but I do know that I don't have that option just right off the bat here. So in order to get this light off, I got to turn it off, which turns off everything. Press the head button. There we go. And now I can go from 1 through 12. And if I want to turn the washers on, I then hit the unit and now the washers are on and then I can have them do their thing. I haven't found an easy way to just turn the bar off when everything else is on, which is a little frustrating because the bar is the brightest thing on here. So I would rather it kind of default to this stuff and leave the bar off and let me turn the bar on, because I can turn it on just by hitting the button here and the bar's on. Okay. On program 1, it appears that you can turn the light off on program 1 by hitting the minus. But it only appears to be on 1. The remote is a little confusing in what it can do and what it can't do. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Enough about that. Here's the thing. If you were to try to run DMX, let's say you're like, okay, I've had enough of this remote. Let's just run the thing DMX and do what I wanted to do. Well, there are a lot of channels. So this thing runs on 3 different channels. One is like simple mode, which basically allows you to run programs, kind of like what we were doing here. Then the second mode is 35 DMX channels, and it gives you more control, but you still can't control the actual individual lights of the light bar itself. And for some people, they're going to want that control. So then you move up to the next one, and the next one is like, I kid you not, 83 DMX channels. That's a lot of channels. Like each one of these lights is a DMX channel, which is overkill in my book. But hey, some people want that control. I don't. I just want it to work the way it's supposed to work. As far as using like Sound Switch with it, yes, Sound Switch does have the 35 channel and the 83 channel, but I still haven't, at the time that I was testing it, SoundSwitch had not put in a way to override, to do a color override. So, you know, there's the default colors in SoundSwitch. You hit the red, you would think that it would turn everything red here, but the buttons actually do nothing on the SoundSwitch at the time that I was testing it. Might have changed in the last week or so. I don't know. I haven't used it because I've been traveling, but when I did test it, that's the one thing that I noticed. Now, you can get in there and make your static scenes and everything, and that works the same way as your color overrides. But, you know, obviously, if you're rocking Control 1, you want everything to work on the top of the box. And right now, they don't. I know it sounds like I've been complaining a little bit, but in all honesty, this is still like one of the more powerful lights that you can buy for a party. This is one of those lights that I would use on a larger event because it is so bright. And I don't have the actual specs. Okay, so the Tron lights are 19 by 10 watt, and the Versaflex bar, you have a 12 by 5 watt warm light LED beams. You have a 96 by 3 RGB outer wash. Then you have your inner strobes. And as far as the moving heads are 25 watts per light. They are a color wheel, 7 colors, and then the static gobos that also are in here. So 25 watts, which are good. Obviously, the new Chauvet gig bar is, I think, 30 watts, so it's a little bit stronger. But I know for a fact that the washes themselves and the bar are definitely not as strong as these, or at least they don't project as strong. So this is a great bar. I do love it. It does a great job, and I'm very happy with it. It just requires a little more hand holding. Hopefully SoundSwitch will do the same thing they did with the gig bar, and they will do the same with the Versaflex. I hope, because that will definitely be a game changer, because right now, if you really want to get granular, there's a lot of DMX channels that you got to run through, and for some people, you know, it's going to be too much. So do I recommend this light? Of course I do. It's a great light. It does a job. I'm very happy with this light. Out of the choices out of here, I think this is one of the top choices. I have not tested the Gig Bar Move 2 with the ILS, so until I do that, I can't say for a fact that this is the better light. I know they're selling it on several sites now. There's a huge demand for them. I would definitely take a look at these before you make your purchase, and then go from there. All right, guys, if you found what I said useful, hit that like button. If you found what I said really useful, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow me on the Instagrams and the Twitters. Get on my Discord, because that's where we're talking about all things Cleveland Terry. Guys, girls, always a pleasure. If I don't talk to you later, we'll talk soon. Peace. Oh, one more thing I forgot to tell you. This guy has an off switch, an actual off switch. Let's see if we can find it. It's off. Thank you.